In this video, I am sharing 5 things they did not tell you about starting a nonprofit. Let's get into it. Hey there, this is Tiffany with Boss in a Budget. I help people start their nonprofits, but I just also help you navigate the startup journey, whether you are a nonprofit founder or a for-profit business owner. And so I like to share insights about how to do your startup journey because I've been exactly in your shoes for a nonprofit and a for-profit. If you need help with your nonprofit, make sure you are subscribed to this channel because I provide videos every week. I'm going to share 5 things that typically nonprofit founders wish they were told, or things they learned along their journey as they started. So we're going to jump right in. The first one is that this takes time. And when you hear me say that, you're probably like, oh yeah, a year or 2. No, it takes time. And as you go through the process of starting your nonprofit, what you need to understand are that there are phases to your nonprofit. So there's the infant stage where you're forming your board and you're figuring out what your purpose is and how you're going to go about the work that you're doing, and you're trying to find seed money and startup money. And there's a process where that takes time, where you're getting your legs and you're trying to figure out that. Then you'll probably transition to a place where you're getting some money and you're running some programs, but eventually you're going to get to a place where you probably need to pay staff regularly and you need to figure out how to get more recurring income. And then that takes time to figure out that strategy, to figure out what you want to do. And then when you're trying to scale and you're trying to get bigger grant funding amounts and you're trying to get even more visibility and you're trying to expand your programs, maybe you want to expand to more people or you want to expand to other geographic areas, then that takes time. So when people say it takes time, I want you to understand that this is a process. This is a journey. And what people don't realize when they first start, especially founders, is that you have to move with people. You can't just make unilateral decisions and say, hey, we're going to do this, and then everybody follow along and then people fall in line. I'm here to tell you that it doesn't work like that in the nonprofit space, and it doesn't work like that with people, because you need a board and you need a group of people to move alongside you to make decisions. You can't be the only one making decisions as the founder. So that alone slows the process and just makes it take more time to get to the goals you set for yourself. So I wanted to focus on time first because I wanted to encourage you, because people have sometimes these timelines in their head that if my organization isn't here at year 3, then I don't want to do this anymore. But I do want to encourage you that it will take up to 3 years for you to get really solid on what you want to do and start getting the kind of money that you want. And then it's going to take more years to get to the next point. And for some people, that time may be shorter. And for some people, that time may be longer. And it depends on many different factors. But one of the biggest factors is who you have around you. One of the biggest factors is also how visible you are. So it really does depend. I just don't want you to beat yourself up because you feel like you have some arbitrary timeline and you're not there. Another example really quickly with grants. So you'll hear a lot of people say, well, you can't get grants until 3 to 5 years in because grant funders, they want to see proof of work you've done, and you don't have that until year 3 to 5. And that's hard, because how are you going to show proof of anything if you haven't made substantial money, which is what you're seeking through the grant, right? But I'm here to tell you that there are grants that you can get. They may not be as huge as you want them to be, but you can absolutely get grants in your first year. You can get grants, even though they're not that many, you can get grants before you even have 501c3 status. So you can get grants in your first 1 to 3 years and it sustain you. So I don't want you to just put all your hope or all your expectations in what's conventional knowledge, right? Because it just depends on your situation and depends on what you're doing as well. There are so many different factors. So pace yourself, give yourself grace, and just know that this will take time. So the second one is you're going to hear no. And I want you to train yourself to know that no's are a part of the journey. They actually are a necessary part of the journey, because no's, they define you, they refine you, they push you to be harder, they motivate you. But sometimes no's can slow you down and make you feel like Is this even worth it? It can make you question things. It can make you reassess. And honestly, I don't see that as a bad thing, because no's wake us up and help us realize that everything is not promised, everything is not guaranteed, but it can still push you to do something different. How many times have you heard no in your life and you thought it was something that was the most devastating thing in the world, but it made you pivot in a way that what you ended up with was way better than you could have imagined? And I know you've had a situation like that, and it's no different with your nonprofit. So many times people get so invested in their missions that they want other people to be just as invested. So when they present the idea to them, then they get really discouraged when people just don't get it or people aren't ready to commit. But I want to tell you that a no is not necessarily a judgment on your program or an indicator that you're not doing the right thing. All it is a no. It just means that that person or whoever you're talking to is not ready or is not the best fit. And the best thing you can do is move on and assess to figure out how to move forward. So I don't want you to get discouraged by the no. I want you to actually expect the no. That's something that I've learned even from participating in my own mastermind and getting coached, that no's are good, especially when it comes to like sales and marketing. No's give you data. No's help you understand, well, maybe I'm getting so many no's because this isn't working or this part of the process isn't working. So when something starts to break down, begin to see it as a blessing, not necessarily as a setback. The third one is tough, but you got to accept it. Board members will come and go. So of all the questions that I get about nonprofits, I would say of the top 3 questions I get, one of them is always about the board. And a lot of times it is around frustration with the board because people have such high expectations for individuals who say they're committed to the mission and who say they're willing to do the work. And when you get people who commit verbally and say, even sometimes they sign paperwork and say they're going to do this, even when that happens, people will fall off. People are going to fall off because family stuff happens, life stuff happens, job stuff happens. And you have to remember that this is still a volunteer endeavor. So they're investing their time, their money into things that they're not necessarily going to see an immediate or direct return for. So sometimes because of that, then the work on the board has less of a priority for them, even if they care deeply about the mission. And what I see so many times is that people take it personally. People really take it personally when other people can't commit to do work. But let me just level this for you. You have to understand that you are a startup. You are literally building something from the ground up. That's a lot of work. And for some people, they may not understand or they underestimate the amount of time it takes to walk alongside you to help stand up this organization. And for some people, they thought they were ready for it, but they really weren't. And let me be real, for some people, they have to see the momentum before they get bought in. They'll say all day that they're going to help you, but until they see something moving, right? Until they see like that momentum, they're not necessarily going to be as committed. And what I need you to understand as the founder is that that's going to happen. I've said before, your board is going to board. Your life is going to life. So you build contingencies around that. Always make sure you have a list of people you can potentially add to your board. Also make sure you have enough people on your board so that if somebody falls off, which naturally just expect at least 20% of the people on the board are going to fall off. I feel like that's really conservative, let me just say. But have the expectation so that you're not so discouraged, because what I've seen happen for founders is that they internalize it. What is it about me? Why don't they care about my mission enough? They should care enough about me. They said they were going to do this. They committed to me. And you have to kind of detach yourself from that and understand that people are people. We cannot predict human behavior, but we can support people and we can try our best to engage them. And even when we do our best, sometimes people aren't meant. They're not meant for that time and for that season. So my advice to you is don't get so wed or attached to people. Just stay attached to the mission and allow the mission to attract the people and just keep going. I'm going to stop right here before I do the last 2 because I want you to understand that the feelings that you feel or the discouragement that you feel as a nonprofit founder is real, but it's also okay. But a lot of times when you're a nonprofit founder, you don't get that because you're doing this on your own. You don't know a lot of nonprofit founders. And even if you do, a lot of them are unwilling to be vulnerable in front of other people or unwilling to share their knowledge because, well, I had to work for it, so you got to work for it. That's not what we do here at Boss on a Budget. We make sure you have the information that you need, which is why I created a membership society where you'll get that encouragement. You'll find a community of founders just like you. And so when you say things like, hey, y'all, I'm frustrated, or hey, I don't know what to do, you'll find common ground. And that will help motivate you to keep going. So if you want to sign up for that society, make sure you click the link in the description box, and I'll be so excited to see you there. Number 4 is 501c3 status does not equal money. It does not automatically equal money. Maybe I should say it like that. Here's what I'll say about 501c3 status. It absolutely will give you access, yes. But that doesn't mean that there isn't work that you have to do to prove to those people who would give you money because you have 501c3 status that you're worthy of that investment. So you have to invest in having clear messaging. You have to invest in making sure people know about you, showing up to meetings, meeting new people virtually and in your local community so people know about your work. You have to invest in creating good programs that have good outcomes so that people want to support you because you're doing such great work. So don't just assume that because you have federal tax exempt status, which is what 501c3 status is, that it's just gravy. You still have to do the work. And once you get that, it takes proper planning, proper execution to be able to raise money. You'll be in a much better place. This one I saved for last because it's, to me, the most profound one. You don't realize how much starting a nonprofit develops you as a person. And I think this is true for for-profit business as well. When you are starting an organization, the things about yourself that you haven't addressed that can impede your success will be exposed. So if there are any insecurities that you have about your voice, about your experience, about your story, about your background, starting a nonprofit, especially as a founder, requires you to expose some of that. Right? So if you're somebody who was always afraid to talk in front of people, to share important information with people, there's some kind of insecurity there. And I'm actually not judging anybody. And I'm actually also talking about myself. But the fact that you get fearful about and very, very hesitant about sharing a story that can help somebody else may be an indicator that there's an insecurity there in you, and you got to address it, because if you don't address it, then it's going to keep you from those key relationships and that visibility you need to get more funding. If you have issues with boundaries when it comes to your time, when it comes to saying no to certain people, or if you have issues being direct with people because you feel like, I don't want to seem or appear this way, that could be rooted in some things you haven't addressed in your personal life. If you have not committed to learning, to accepting the no's, to moving forward past the no's, if you're not open for that kind of development, you will be exposed. So I'm just saying that there has to be some kind of learning, some kind of development, some kind of curing. That's the only word I could come up with. So when I say curing, I just mean you're being tested, you're put through the fire, you're being refined. That there has to be some part of your life that's going to get tested as a part of this journey. Because guess what? You're meeting people, you're being stretched to lead people in a way you've never had to do before, and all you wanted to do was serve somebody. But when you decide to create a nonprofit organization, you have to understand it requires so much more of you than you would have ever expected. So I want you to embrace this journey knowing that it's going to change you. It's going to make you better. It's going to make you deeper. It's going to make you question. It's going to make you yearn for learning. And you have to accept that and embrace it. And the quicker you do, the better you will be. Was this helpful? Let me know in the comments, and also share your own advice with people who may be watching this video and may be a little scared to say something. Just know that people are watching and learning from you. You have just as much insight as I do in this process, so please share your journeys. Also, if you want to find your community, if you need to find your people who are doing stuff just like you, helping people in their local communities, but you need help, make sure you sign up for my membership society. I'm linking it below. You can also visit me at bossonabudget.com for some free resources and advice. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.